It's time for the View in Your Mirror podcast. I'm Katie Harms, and along with Lisa Rubin, we help you check in and curate the best possible you and the best view in your mirror. We share tips, tricks, and strategies from our 35 plus years in our respective industries. We talk about your day from morning to night and everything in between. We share our uniqueness, relish in our shared experiences. Along the way, we share conversation with fabulous people who give us their own thought-provoking insights. So come along as we help you hone the best view in your mirror.
Lisa.
Good morning, Katie.
Only 2 Lisas today. I tried to switch it up. Normally I put them in 3s.
Should I go Katie?
Oh, that's a norm.
Okay.
You do you, Lisa. You do you.
All right, I'll try.
Just do. As in the words of Yoda, no try, just do.
Just not try, just do.
No try, just do. Ooh, Rustica. We had the opportunity to meet up at Rustica when we were in town.
It was just lovely.
I mean, first of all, it's fun to see it busy, and the energy in there is just so good. I really love that. We met at the Minneapolis one, but I love Edina as well. So Minneapolis is by Bde Maxka, and Edina is in Southdale Center. What did you have? Inquiring minds want to know. What did you have?
Katie, I had the banana bread this time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a jasmine tea because it's very cold right now in Minnesota.
That it is. I had the salted maple latte, decaf, of course, but it was yummy. And then I had the pear uzu date scone.
Yes, I did see that.
Delicious. I know you did. It was sitting on my plate.
Yes, it was.
You didn't see it. You didn't see it for long, though, because I scarfed it down very quickly. And it was very, very good. Now, we found out some things that are really exciting. They have a little heartier fare from 8 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon. So if you want avocado toast or what else do we see on the menu? Some heavier things.
Quiche,
that's right. So good to know if you go in.
And salads,
if you're a little hungrier. Delicious. Their bakery counter. Now listen, Jody Hills was in town and we got together and that was all the fun in the world. And I sent her to Rustica because who better? And she brought her husband. Who better to comment on baked goods than one living in France and married to a Frenchman? And they got high marks.
I know. I saw that. You posted that on Instagram.
Exactly. You know what? Why wouldn't they? We knew they were going to get high marks. I was not at all worried sending her in there because I knew they were going to get high marks. The bakeries, the breads are just incredible. If you have upcoming events, if you want to order ahead online, just delicious. rusticabakery.com, part of the Jester Concepts group of restaurants, justerconcepts.com. Happy to have them as our presenting sponsor. Now, let's get into it. We have an incredible guest today. I have been fangirling over for a very, very long time since I've been affiliated with the University of Minnesota, and she was one of the first people I ever met there. And I'm telling you about her now because Andrea was one of those people, Andrea Hjelm, who is the most interesting woman to me with a background that is just amazing. But what I love the most about Andrea is the way she supports people. And I have to believe she does this with her clients, and she's certainly done it with me. And we talked last time, Lisa, about the fact that I was going after something big and different and scary. I was in the process of going for becoming a regent of the University of Minnesota. That process ended. Let me tell you what the experience brought to me. First of all, in critiquing myself, I really think I could have done a better job in the interview process. It was quite the process. I would say my answers could have been a little more substantive. Not so much. This was the funny thing. I ended earlier. They had allotted 45 minutes of time. I was done in about 35 minutes. Now, you know me and I'm long-winded.
Katie.
And that's a little surprising. So I was proud of myself for having, I thought, succinct answers. But when I look back on it, when I sit back and pull back and really am honest with myself, I could have had more substantive answers. Now, everything happens for a reason, right? So we go on with it. But what I want to talk about, and one of the people that was extremely supportive was Andrea. And there was probably 40 people, 45 people that I had talked to in the course of determining to do this that had offered advice one way or the other. And when I looked at the support, what an incredible feeling that was to have that kind of support for people to say, you got this, go for it. You'd be excellent at this. And you don't realize, you come to a point in your life and you're in the process of living and doing and all of that. And you don't realize what kind of support you have. You would have it. Others would have it if we only look for it. So then this whole process brought me to a shift in thinking of truly gratitude for the process, because it brought me through and allowed me to interact and see some other things. Does that make sense?
Complete sense. And I know you and I had a conversation after.
You did. You were one of the first people to call. You did make me cry also. I want you to know. And I was sad, but not to the point of tears until I talked to you.
I think it was just emotion that
it
hit
was
you.
Release. Yeah.
And with me, you can do that and there's no judgment.
Right.
But maybe a little judgment. No, I'm kidding, Katie. But again, what we talked about was the fact that the experience and the fact that you could look back now and look at that is going to bring you to whatever you're going to do next. That might be scary. You might do it differently and approach it differently.
Yeah. And the things that are popping up or I'm paying attention to or that I'm attuned to now, which are different maybe than what was happening before.
And I think that, to me, that was incredible, right? Because if you didn't do it at all, you wouldn't be where you are sitting in that chair today.
Yeah. How would I ever know?
Exactly.
How would I ever know? And I look back and how many things, one of the questions they asked was, can I name one time that I would have done something different? My first response, because I can be a little bit of a smartass, was how much time do you have? Because truly, we're not really doing our jobs for our own self-development if we don't look back on things and think, how could I have done that differently? Especially if it didn't go well.
Exactly. 100%.
So
that's for you.
That's been interesting. Thank you. Thank you. What's the scariest thing you've ever done?
Oh my goodness. You didn't tell me you were going to ask me that question.
Well, we're having a conversation. I'm not scripted most of the time. Hello, newsflash.
Okay, so one of the most scary things I've done professionally is start this podcast. You know that.
I do.
Completely out of my comfort zone. Actually, every time we record a podcast, it's out of my comfort zone in the beginning. So,
and when you look at the last, my God, are we coming up on 5 years?
Yes, we are, Katie.
We probably should redo our headshots.
That might be a good idea.
I think that's one of your key pieces of advice that we started out with earlier on. But yes, so we can't all be like Andrea Hjelm and look the same for 50 years. I don't know how she does it. We'll have to ask that question. But when you think back to the 5 years of doing this podcast, are the feelings that you get when you come onto it the same?
Yes, it's a very nervous energy. It's kind of the same as when I'm getting ready to fly.
Okay. But when you critique yourself after a podcast, because I know you do, because I know you, how do you feel? Do you feel you've progressed?
Yes, 95% of the time, yes. Yes, I don't walk away going, ooh, Lisa, you could have done better at that one. I always have notes. Katie, I have no notes today.
What?
Yeah, no notes.
We're both holding up pieces of paper right now. Hers has nothing on it, and I have typed out and printed.
See, look at what's changed.
Oh my God, what's happening here?
But I did do a dive on my computer.
Sure.
I didn't write it down, and I don't know why. I can't tell you the reason.
But because you're in an area that you know and you're comfortable with, probably, right?
Maybe. You're probably right about that.
We'll have to see your critique afterwards.
Oh my goodness. You're going to critique me now? You just got me nervous.
No, I mean your personal critique. Are you kidding? I can hardly keep myself together. I can't worry about you, Lise. I got things to do, places to go, people to see. Well, today when I was getting ready this morning and I was spending my usual time in the morning, I do spend some time on social media, and Jane Fonda's out with a new thing that she's promoting, and it's to take art classes. One of the things in this, it's very interesting. If you see it, it's very cute and it's very well done. And she does it with another woman. And I'm so sorry, I listened to it quickly. I didn't get the other woman's name, but it's basically the studies of aging and joy and what truly keeps people. I think she said you can get back 7.5. You can keep 7.5 years of your life, or you can add on 7.5 years of your life if you do these things. And one of these things is create more joy, creating community, which we've heard about, right, from the Surgeon General and all that. We don't have community. And within that community, she said one of the ways to get there fastest is through art classes.
I think that's becoming very popular. There's a few people I know recently in our age group that decided to take up pottery.
Oh.
And it's really hard. It's really hard. You have to really use your hands. And one of my friends was talking about her experience. She had me laughing hysterically because she showed me the picture of what ended up what she got. And I just kindly looked at it and goes, oh, what's that going to be? She goes, I'm not sure. I had another girlfriend who was like, I need to do something else besides work and this, she's in our age group. And she goes, what do you think I should do, Lisa? I said, why don't you do something artistic, which she's not at all. She goes, got to think about that one, but not a bad idea.
Well, that's the balance, right? I mean, truly the balance, the yin, the yang, all of that. Incredible. Well, listen, doing tough things, it gives you a renewed sense. It really does. And it's something worth looking at. So I strongly encourage it. And somebody who I know has done tough things is Andrea Hjelm.
Let me tell you a bit about Andrea before she joins us. She's the owner of More Creative Talent, where her daughter, Alicia Cardwell, serves as president. Together with a fabulous team, they represent actors and models locally and nationally for film, TV, voiceover, commercial, industrial, and print work. A newspaper columnist for many years, she interviewed and wrote feature stories on many leaders in the fashion industry. She has also served as fashion coordinator and commentator for many local retailers and created the incredible Fashion Fest fashion show benefiting the U of M Masonic Children's Hospital. She's also an author. The Person You Are is a textbook of personal development for post-secondary schools. She edited USM Today, a Boston magazine, and served as marketing director for a Southwestern retailer. She currently serves on the Intercollegiate Athletic Advisory Board at the University of Minnesota, is a member of the President's Club, and past president of the University of Minnesota Alumni Association. She is working on fundraising projects for Masonic Children's Hospital at the U of M, the Basilica of St. Mary's, the Lundstrom School of Performing Arts, and the U of M College of Education and Human Development. Andrea and her husband, Ken, are a true dynamic duo, and I know they cherish time spent with their children and 5 grandchildren. Welcome, Andrea.
Good morning.
I told Lisa, and I'm a little bit, like I said, I've been fangirling for you until you've truly become my friend and someone I consider to be just such an incredible person in the community, and I've learned so much from you. And I've been dying to have you on the podcast. So thank you so much for being here. And thank you for all you've meant to me and all you've done. And you are beyond special. Just need you to know that.
Well, thank you. That isn't true. There are a lot of us out there.
Well, I definitely feel that as well in terms of my support posse, but true friends that I can look to and learn from, you're at the top of the list, my dear. Top of the list.
Well, I thank you for that.
You're welcome. I want to talk, what I think is so incredible, and as I age up, what I'm calling it, is looking to those who are in this incredible circle of knowledge. Life has changed so much. The internet has changed so many things, but the knowledge base that people have is still there. And we learn from every single person that we've had on this show. We learn from them by hearing their stories. So I want to know about yours. So take me back. You were a college student at the University of Minnesota.
Well, that was in the 60s, and I was very fortunate to be at the University of Minnesota. I came from a fairly large inner city high school, and we had over 600 in our class. So going to the university wasn't really that jolting as far as numbers are concerned. We had 20,000 on campus at the university at the time. And it was a big organization. And I tried to find my way in the beginning by joining a lot of different freshman organizations. We had freshman camp, we had freshman council. I met a lot of people who are still in my life at this point in time. People like Dave Mona, who has progressed through the public relations media situation and was in freshman council. And we did all these things as a unit as freshmen beginning at the university. And I found great friends in that community at that time. Little did I know that what would happen later in my life would be that I would go into a business that was totally unrelated to my education. And my education was in the College of Education, which is now Education and Human Development. And I received a degree in secondary education, which I did pursue. And that helped me a lot because the pursuit of that helped me in going forward in not only in teaching, but stimulating me in the continuum through life in teaching, which was through business. It was through associations with other people. So the university trained me in that, and I have great loyalty to them because they also allowed me to be a cheerleader. But actually, it was in a time when there were budget cuts and other things at the university, and I tried out for it and didn't make it the first year. So my dear friend and I, who did make it, went to all the games, and I sat in the Rooter Club. So that was my first disappointment in a, one would say, but I wasn't discouraged because I tried again, and then I didn't sit in the Rooter Club. I got down on the field the next time. So, but that has always led me to continue being a cheerleader all through life, through with my family, through my business, through the associations, through time, in teaching, in the fashion business as well, which Lisa had that experience, I know, with you and with her life. And I thought that that led me to a lot of things, working with young people, grooming people in the business that I am in right now, which is the fashion business, a little bit. The rest of it really is grooming people for life because our business is everything. It works with health. It works with casinos. It works with people like Target, 3M, all these different organizations, Best Buy, Medtronic, Boston Scientific. With scientific organizations, we supply people that will promote or enhance their businesses. And we do that through a variety of ways. We do that for print, for brochures, for advertising. We do that through educational film, in what we call industrial film. And we do that through voiceover, which also is teaching and using actors to portray parts that are enhancing the product or the particular client. So it has taken me, my university background has taken me all the way to this time in my life where that representation of actors and real people, also that clients in this business of what we call advertising, which is really more than that. It is advertising. Some parts of it is also educational.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Thank you. I want to talk about more creative. Somewhere in there, this sense of giving back started very early for you.
It did, but it was very interesting because, I've always felt that, I guess it started at the U because they put me in charge of Santa Anonymous. So for the campus. And so I had to solicit fraternities, sororities, independents, everyone for gifts for kids for Santa Anonymous. So I guess that's the first place that I've ever began to volunteer. My other volunteer work crosses a lot of boundaries because there's the Basilica, there is the university, there is the Lundstrom School. These are things that I dedicate in my spare time to enhancing, usually fundraising. And I think it's really important to support these community organizations. They just light up the landscape. And the thing that's very odd is that when I was at the university, and I was really oblivious because my family was a working class family. And so I was oblivious to things like the sororities and fraternities. And I got very lucky because somehow I got drafted into being a little sister of Minerva to the SAEs, which was a fraternity. And I thought, well, this is a good deal. I have all these fraternity brothers and a little brother to sort of take care of for 1 year each year that I was there. And so I didn't join a sorority, and my friends did. But once I was in that and met all these great people, I didn't feel like I needed a network for social. So I was all set to go in that regard. But the oddest thing is that grade school friend of mine and junior high and high school friend nominated me for homecoming queen at the university. This was in my sophomore year. I didn't even know that that could happen. I just thought, I don't know where that came from. And then the SAEs next door, he was an ATO, the SAEs next door called me about 2 minutes later and asked me to be their candidate. And I said, whoops, it's too late. I got to do this. So anyway, in the interviews, what I'm getting to was Eleanor Moore. And she is a namesake of Moore Creative Talent. And she was a very, very convincing individual in sales and marketing because she was hands-on, deliver the book to the client directly. And she was amazing. I didn't know any of this when I went into that interview. I went in there and she interviewed me. And the only question I remember her saying, there were 5 judges in this. And again, I had no idea what they were basing their judgment on. But anyway, I went through the thing. And I remember her one question was, do you smoke? And I thought, well, no, I don't. I've never done that. And I thought, well, is that something she's basing her judgment on? But anyway, I had to herd pigs with a long stick. I had all kinds of judgments made on these kinds of other things. Somehow I pulled through with the votes and the activities to be named that. And so she approached me to work. And so I got into the modeling business just because of her. So she was a great lady and she taught me a lot. Many years later, in fact, just last week, a mentor that I worked for producing shows, he was a vice president at then Dayton's and then went into his own business. He bought John W. Heller at Southdale. At the time, Southdale was huge in the 60s and 70s and 80s. And this was in the 70s. And he approached me and said, there's an agency for sale. And I said, that is great, but why me? He said, well, you produce shows, you work with all the models, you model in the shows, you know the business. I said, I don't have 2 nickels to put together to do that. I mean, I just come from a family that, I have a great husband, and I have, 2 kids and everything is good, but I don't know how I could do that by a business. So he said, let me tell you, you take my lawyer, sign a non-disclosure agreement, and they will let you look at the books. And he'll tell you if you can do this and how. And I went with his lawyer. I remember it was Mr. Hartman from Mr. Schmidt, Norm Schmidt. And we did it. And he said, you could do this, but you won't get paid for 3 years. Well, I never told anybody that, especially my employees, once I did buy it. And it was the best decision that I've ever made in regard to business. It worked out well. I didn't get paid for 3 years, but I had all my clients that I billed directly, went into the business. I booked all my models. I did all the shows. I opened Burnsville. I did Downtown Council of St. Paul fashion shows. I did all these things employing my people. So it was just the best, but I didn't get paid for 3 years. Thankfully, my husband had a job that supported that. And the other thing that's interesting for people, I need to mention this because the SBA, the Small Business Association, would not grant me a loan. And that seems like the very logical place to go. I even knew the banker personally via my husband. The reason was that the woman that was selling it to me, who was Eleanor Moore, financed half. And it was like you pay it down like a contract for deed is today. And so she would not subordinate to the SBA. In other words, she would not allow them to be paid first before her in case we went down. Well, that was tough. So not telling my parents, we second mortgaged the house.
Oh,
That wasn't done back then. I mean, you see a lot of that now, refinancing, all this stuff right now. That was not done back then. And we didn't ever tell our parents we did it. I was able to pay the business off in 3 years. I was able to then be able to draw salary, which was lovely. And ever since, we've been fine. The business now is in the hands of my daughter, who is very capable, and she's been doing it for 20 years or more. She is very current. It has evolved and it continues to evolve. The hard part about the business that we're in is it's a young business and it changes really quickly. The business itself isn't young, but the participants on the exterior all are. So it's our job sometimes to educate them as well, to help them through those first years, because these are inspiring young people who have great ideas. They have great, but they aren't always aware of the process. So we're there to be helpful for that. And we are very fortunate. We have wonderful clients that trust us, allow us to do this. We're very transparent. We're very honest with people. We are not there to manipulate them. Our job is to supply what they need to the best of our ability and to communicate that to them and to our talent, and to have talent ready in response to what those needs are.
fascinating. You answered all my questions that I had in year one. So I'm finding myself at a little, but I want to go back because you said it wasn't unusual. You couldn't get a loan from the SBA. That doesn't surprise me for the time you were looking at it. I mean, women couldn't even open their own checking accounts till the 70s or, late 60s, whatever it was, ridiculous amounts of time. Go back to, how did your marriage work? You have a very supportive husband. I know this to be true. You two are what I would call a power couple, to be able to identify you quickly. But how did that work? What was the give and take in your relationship?
Well, he is very responsible for all of this. When I first came to be that this opportunity arose, it did arise another individual who I had worked for through high school, at the end of high school, and through college for many years. And afterwards, producing shows at Orchestra Hall was Don Rush. And we produced shows and had 5,000 on a Sunday at Orchestra Hall. It's a union hall. I worked with union people. We did all the music, the production, the sets, everything. And the production is pretty grand when you're doing a big bridal show. And that was the premiere show of the year. There weren't other people coming in on that. So anyway, what happened is Don Rush had also mentioned this opportunity with more. Well, when I presented it to Ken, I was very hesitant, but I did present it to him because we were at dinner with Norm Schmidt at his home when it came up. Then we went back home and I said, well, that surprised me that now two people have suggested this. He said, well, why wouldn't they? You've been working with all these models in these big shows that you do. You know everybody in the shows. You know the merchants because you model for them and they've paid you for your services. So that you're not going to change that a whole lot. And so he was the one that was supportive. And I would never have thought to do it without his support. And through the years, it's not an easy thing because you've got two kids. He travels a lot because he's an executive at a major company in the Twin Cities, an international company. So when he traveled, it was required 3 weeks out at a time. It wasn't just, days here and there. So it was quite stressful because I had to run the household and run the business during that time. But he was there always for me, always supportive. And he is a very capable and fascinating person. So I am blessed with that and have been this is our 60th year. So we've been together, it seems, since childhood, but it's a long association.
Well, it sure is. And it appears to work very well together. You lived overseas at some point. Was that before buying more?
His original employer was First National City Bank of New York. And that was out of graduate school because he was in graduate school in Boston. And then he got the job, the first part of the job in New York, but it was international. So we were in New York City. I've got a 1-year-old. I'm in a one bedroom apartment, a little bit crowded there. And that was fascinating, though, because Muhammad Ali had a girlfriend across the street from us. And I was home with a child, so I could watch all this activity. So it was hysterical. And then George Grizzard, who was at the Guthrie, and I'd seen him from the beginning at the Guthrie, as a student at the U, I went to theater. He was in our building in New York. So it was like, wow, I've got all these famous people. But anyway, so Ken joined the New York Bank, which then sent him to the Philippines. And, I'm not one to sit still. So in the Philippines, of course, we have a couple people in the house to help us because there are a lot of health issues that you have to watch in some of these overseas places. So I decided that I had enough time. I'd go to school. I enrolled at the University of the Philippines and graduate school. And what happened is, on my references was the author of one of the textbooks that they used in journalism. Incidentally, I was in class with Dave Mona in journalism too. We had to count headlines and write stories. But anyway, this teacher had written the text. Well, they let me write in the graduate school if that was my recommendation from him. So I was there, but then we had to leave before I could finish. We were only there for about 10 months for training. We went to Indonesia. And so I couldn't go to school there because I wasn't a resident, and I couldn't work there because I didn't have a green card, equivalent of what we have here, a green card. And I couldn't jeopardize my husband's work by trying to do that on the quiet. So I met this woman who, because I'm fair-haired, they're not. She was the only one in Jakarta, Indonesia that dealt with fair hair and kept it fair. Okay? Because I'm not that fair. Anyway. And she was great. And she developed a lot of cosmetics, and she did a lot of work with developing that. She had a PhD in chemistry. So that's how she could get to the hair thing, because she knew what would work and what wouldn't work. So anyway, she had cosmetics in her refrigerator because there was no preservative there. Okay. So anyway, that was great. And she maintained me while I was there. And then she asked me to join her in business because she wanted to open a salon, make this bigger, not just her one-man show. So I said, well, sure, I could do that, but I needed a work permit. I couldn't do this. She marched me over to it's a big military complex, to her friend, the general there, and said, I need to get this girl a work permit. Can you get it for me? And he looks at me and he says, oh, yeah, I can do that. In Indonesian. Yeah. Saya, whatever. I won't talk in my Malaysian because it's meager. But anyway, so he granted me the work permit and we were ready to go. So we decorated her salon. We got clothes in there. We supplemented it. Then in her salon was one area, the clothing, books, education. And then we opened a school. And I had to teach it in Malaysian because these were non-English speakers. And so I had learned that language before we went there because people didn't speak English there. You had to have a knowledge of the language. So I'm not that great at it, but it was not difficult. It's not like the other languages, Japanese or Chinese. It's readable with a phonetic pronunciation. So I was able to learn that and teach these girls in finishing school, manners, how to walk, how to present themselves, how to dress, all these things socially that they needed polish for because they didn't usually go to college. They were there to have families, and they were girls of very capable executives and rulers because there were sultans and other people in Indonesia that had young people. And I was privy to be able to help them refine their lives.
Have you? See, you already were setting yourself up to do what you did for your career.
I did. But what was really interesting? That woman is probably one of the richest women in Indonesia. I went back about 20 years later for a wedding of a friend, Indonesian wedding. And she had factories because she had evolved from the refrigerator to things that preserved her cosmetics. And she sells them throughout Asia. They are for Asian women throughout Asia. So it's remarkable. And so her name was Martha Tilar. Never forget her. And she was a nurturing, firm, smart person. And she just never let go. And she ran everything just down to the minute. She was amazing and taught me a lot too.
Is she still alive?
I haven't heard from her in many years. The lifespan of people, even who are comfortable in these Asian countries, they are subject to the same diseases, parasites, things that, we're very cautious about when we're there. So I'm not certain about that. I would love to see her again. We were very good friends, and she was really great human with a great education and a clever mind.
I feel like you met your Indonesian match in Martha.
Except ours is a very low profit margin business, and hers isn't. Some of our business, we only make 10%. So if an actor goes, because we're covered by the union, we are SAG and AFTRA. So when an actor makes $500, we make $50.
Interesting. I'm so glad you're talking about that. I want to talk more. We're going to take a quick break and come back. And I want to talk about just about what your days look like, what you're doing, what excites you, what brings you joy.
You are invited to make your way to a beautifully inventive and delightful store in the Galleria called Sweet Ivy. Becky Leffler's inspiration for the store comes from her vacations in Marco Island, where she relished in the sensory delights, intoxicating aromas, vivid colors, and exquisite products in the local gift shops. She has gone on to curate a beautiful selection of apparel, shoes, accessories, and gifts born of her love for unique products and her unwavering belief in her vision brought to life and cared for by a fabulous staff. Feminine, chic, pieces that will elevate and stay in your wardrobe for years to come. Brands like Tyler Bow from Rhode Island, Spartina 449, and Magic Pants by Lise. Not to be forgotten is Littles by Sweet Ivy, their predominantly children's store and home to Barefoot Dreams, which you need to experience. Give yourself the gift of this store in the Galleria. Shop Sweet Ivy. ShopSweetIvy.com.
And we're back. Talking about your business, Andrea, you have had a front row seat to history and the development of so many things, right? So the evolution of your business, what have you seen change? And then bring social media into it, because that has to have changed how you operate.
Well, my first days in the business, Eleanor Moore was next to me and prompting me on things. She ran a very personal business, and that was how it began. I remember these people, their names in the very beginning, each photographer. I remember the individual contacts at places like 3M, wonderful people that were in the business of promoting their businesses. She would bring a 3-ring binder with the pictures of the people she represented to each of these businesses. So imagine the footwork on doing this, on delivering to all these clients. And we did that in the beginning. We used delivery services to do that. We did what we called a pull by taking all of these 8x10 headshots and resumes on the back and putting them together when we had the client ask for a certain type. And then we would get that by delivery to these folks. We would have delivery service do that. And they would get that and then make a decision or have an audition to see these people. Now, the way that it's evolved through the years is huge development was we don't even send one hard copy of anything anywhere. So in that way, we've cut our delivery service charges hugely. And the other thing is that it's all transmitted via the internet. Up until probably maybe 10 years ago, we did what we called, for the beautiful people, composite cards, which are color synopsis of what they do. It'd be a full length, a headshot, 3/4 action on a card. And we would send those. Then we began to load those onto the computer and the database. And then we didn't send those anymore, hard copies. We transmitted those. Now everything is listed on the internet on our website, and people can make those choices themselves preliminarily to our suggestions, which they do ask for and they do trust us. So that evolution has been amazing. It makes me think, though, because what I'm most concerned about is that we have no living record of people any longer, because once they have stopped in the business, that we delete them. It's very simple. What happens then to the famous people like Lonnie Anderson, like Kevin Sorbo, who was Hercules? We have hard copies of them, but we don't have hard copies of people now. Some of our people have been on Broadway. Some of them have been in film. We don't have that. And I think not just us, but the world has fewer of them, so that you don't have that taken. Now, the other thing that's huge in our evolution has to do with the internet, not just for presentation of talent, but the internet in its usage for promotion. TikTok, Snapchat, Threads, Instagram, Facebook. I mean, all these things are out there. How do they affect us? Are they instrumental in anything that we do? Well, I think the only way at this point that I see is that our competitors, and there are very few, because after COVID, I have to say, most of them have been consolidated. During our interim of existence, have absorbed at least 3 or 4 agencies into ours. They've been very kind of late, beautiful people that have suggested their talent join us. So we feel very grateful for that. But that's what happened after COVID. But there still are competitors out there. And, they're vying for the talent in the marketplace. And we have really good talent here. The MFA and the undergraduate programs in theater in acting at the university, it's an excellent program. And with the Guthrie, there's a big draw there for people to come here. And we have so many good theaters here. The Jungle Theater, we have the History Theater, we have so many good theaters locally. So we have actors who are very well qualified. We also have, very important during this particular time, actors of color, because for our business, they're in high demand and they are very skilled in this market, many of them, and we try to keep them very busy. So we're very fortunate to be able to do that. And that is a real positive in this market. The other thing, going back to social media, our competitors, as I mentioned, they may solicit on that with aggrandizement of their facility or their capabilities to lure talent. Fortunately, we do almost always have a submission by the best talent in this market. So we are able to go through that, interview that. We also have a facility. We are in a building, and most of our competitors are not. So we have the ability to do auditions in our building of good quality. That's both vocal auditions and on camera. So if a talent doesn't have a setup at home, we're able to help them. It helps us develop new talent. And that's very important in our market, because our clients don't like to see repetitive talent in most instances. They love fresh faces and very skilled faces, and we have to make those judgments. So the other thing we were talking about before was social media.
We were talking about social media, but we were also talking about cost.
Yes. And that's another thing, because everybody thinks, oh, this is a great business and everything. Well, let me give you some comparisons. We are governed, as I mentioned earlier, by the union, and that's SAG-AFTRA, AFTRA-SAG, whichever way you want to put it. They are the national, really governing board that supplies benefits to the talent that are AFTRA-SAG talent. And they supply insurance, they supply, when they retire, retirement funds. So there are many advantages for the union, but there's a lot of non-union work. Now, the union does govern us even in the non-union, because we are not allowed to ever take more than 10% commission from the actor. And so that means, like I've said before, if an actor makes $500, we make $50. We may have put in 20 to 30 hours of work on that, with castings, calling everybody, connecting with them, getting scripts to them, getting them to the audition, lining up the times. And so that $50 barely covers much of anything. So that 10% is governing. And that's not the case in print. but it is in the voiceover and in the on camera, which are the other two departments in addition to print. Now, the reason for that 10% is because in LA, and we have had the ability to supply talent to LA to certain series. We did like The Nanny and some other series in LA. And those people work usually 22 weeks doing a series. I mean, that's how it was before. I don't know how long it goes now. Now they have split series. I mean, they're doing it differently. So we may negotiate a deal memo, which is a preliminary contract to all this. Okay. And it tells what's covered in that. But going back to it, these talents can make a lot if it's a really heavy duty series or a movie. They might make a week. We've had people make, maybe 70,000 a week. Okay. Well, 10% of that is really darn good. And that's what the LA agents make. They'll make their 7,000 a week. So in a month, they're making 28,000. Okay. We're making our $50 over here in Minneapolis. Okay. But because we have to go by the same 10%. We have never had a job that anybody's in this market been paid that much money per week. They get a weekly if they're doing a film. They might make, a couple thousand, we might then make 200, which is like a boon to us, So that's the reason we're governed the same across the whole country. We don't have a choice about that if we want to remain an agent. Now we can do non-union work, but same thing. And most films are not non-union. They're all AFTRA-SAG and they're all 10%. So we don't have any choices there. The non-union is a little different, but not much. And again, we can only take 10% from the client.
How do you add on to that, Andrea? You obviously have made a good living and you employ people. So
Yes.
So what are the other revenue streams?
Well, that is it for us. We don't have another revenue stream. We have a print. Print, we're allowed to take, all agents are allowed to take whatever commission they decide. They could take half, if they want to, from the talent in print. And they can add a service fee. So the service fee, those things are helpful to keep us afloat. Now, we have months where the businesses really can be slow. It's seasonal. Christmas, that December, it's all done. Halloween is done, sometimes all finished in March. They're way ahead of time. Sometimes I think last year Target did Halloween in January. It's because they do packaging and all those kinds of things. So it's a lot of lead time sometimes. So we can't predict the business either. And so sometimes, I don't draw salary because there isn't any and everybody gets paid, but we have never missed. We have always maintained and we're very careful about that.
So knowing your cycles and things like that, but you were talking about social media a little bit as an add-on.
Yes. And I will tell you that we have to negotiate that in addition, because some of our clients, those are beneficial areas for them to enter. So we do have add-ons for that with additional monies. Again, usually it's not union, it's non-union, but we can do the add-on there. They're negotiated separately in a contract for the talent with the client. And, a lot of people don't use social media. People, sometimes the seriousness of what the package is, of the person with the client is doing, it's not a trend situation. It could be mechanical, it could be whatever. And it's different than when you're doing trends, when you're doing lifestyle. Target would do lifestyle. Best Buy would do lifestyle. Those are all things that might go. Maybe if it's tape for 3M, they might. I don't know. They might push it a different way, but usually it's the trend areas that push that social media and not so much some of our classic individuals that we work with or companies and corporations that we work with.
Makes sense. All right. Switching gears for a little bit. Speaking about trends, you've seen a few come and go. What's your personal brand?
Oh, for me? Oh, good Lord. I don't know. I think I would say I don't have a brand, just a style maybe. I'm sort of a person oriented for service, for nurturing, for teaching. As far as my exterior appearance is concerned, it's probably basic black. It's probably classic hairstyle. My signature probably has to do with my hair because I try to have it be perfect, but I don't want to ever look at it again after I put it together in the morning. So I'd never look back. So whatever happens, happens. But anyway, sometimes not good happens. But anyway, I stay with my busy day and get through it because most of my days I did several years ago go to a shorter day after COVID, actually, because I should have been retired 20 years ago. And not retiring meant I really take a shorter day. I make sure that I have things that I do during the day for health reasons. Exercise, I do Pilates, I walk, I do some weights, I do the elliptical. I do a lot of that for personal health because I think as one ages, one needs to think about maintaining what you have if possible, because it's amazing how gravity wins. And in every way, skin and body and muscle, it really does. But you need to fight that. And I think that's important. Also, at work, I take care of making sure we have a little building. And so we make sure that's all maintained. And I make sure that all the payables are set and take some of that responsibility off of my daughter, Alicia, because she likes to dedicate herself to her clients. So when I take all the business side back off her, she has that. She's also dedicated to her children, which is important. And I didn't mention that because that was also raising kids and being in a business really, in a way, was not so easy because you want to take that personal time. And you need to do that. And you need to always make time for that. And we did that, Ken and I together. And our kids have come out as people who strive for the best as well. So they are both, I have a son, Jan, and my daughter, Alicia, and they both work very hard at what they do. And they're in very different businesses. So I think that's important as well. So I don't know if I have a signature. I have good penmanship. The nuns in grade school made sure I had good penmanship. You had to be perfect.
Well, Lisa has a signature question.
I have a signature question. I've been listening to her. I'm so entrenched.
I know you have a wardrobe that is
the lucky
filled
piece
with treasures.
Oh, yes.
Filled with treasures.
So do you have something when you're having a busy day or when you're working that you always put on or something you do to set up your day?
Well, you know what? I always make sure I have a good belt. I think an accessory is something. And I do that with most everything. I don't have a lot of belts, but I have some really good belts. Some are big statement pieces. Some are small, designer, but small, modest. And you know what I love about living in the Twin Cities? Nobody even knows that it's a designer piece. Only me. Because no one cares. And so it makes me feel good, but it doesn't matter. It's not an exterior statement because they don't know what it is. If it's an Hermes belt or a Gucci belt, they don't know. And so for me, it's just anonymity, so to speak. And it's kind of fun. I do have some really good pieces. I love Paris and I love going there and I love looking. I'm limited. Like I say, I'm salaried. I don't, our business is not a high profit margin. So that isn't in my DNA. But I love going. I love copying. I love having a few really good things, which I do. I've usually found those at a bargain rate. I was taught when I wrote a book called The Person You Are, that when you shop for really good things, you go right to the back of the department because that's where the sale items are. They don't put those up front, ladies. They put that in the back. So you march back there and you see what you can see. And I've given several pieces to the Goldstein in St. Paul because they were signature pieces from way back in the 60s, 70s that when Donna Karen first started. Some of those things in the Oval Room was in existence, and that used to be the place to get things. And I would walk past there every day from my job, which was teaching post-secondary school in a business school. And I could walk there to the parking ramp, shop on my way home every day. So that's when I taught at that particular place. So, but those are gone now because it's like the sequined outfit I wore to the opening of the Mall of America, different things that I had that I don't need anymore. And so they are in a place that people can look at the construction, how it was sewn together, how it was designed, how the fabric was laid out, if it was laid out on the bias. I love that because in my coordinating days, those are all the things that I had to know. So when I buy clothes, even if it's not expensive, you could still buy something on the bias. That hangs beautifully. There are things that you can find that you're buying in clothing now that are important to your presentation.
I have another question for you. Are you somebody lipstick or no lipstick? Do you always have to have lipstick on?
I have to have lipstick on. We've talked about makeup because I taught that at one point too. When you put lipstick on, it helps your eyes. Yeah. It draws away from, especially as you age and there are dark circles and there are bags and things that happen, that you don't want. And you work with that. You have to work with that too, with contouring and being careful with that. But lipstick, I do a little of an outline because then it really defines the lip. And when you do the lip, it should have a bow at the bottom, I was taught. And that bow, again, gives a sort of a romanticism and a definition to the lip as the top with the bow. So I always draw it in as a bow and then fill in with whatever color. For drama, dark color. For otherwise sort of a nude that, doesn't speak too loudly. I think as one ages, you minimize the makeup. It's not good to use foundation unless you're covering spots or, we might have a few of those as we age. So make sure you have eyebrows and lashes. But again, go tones lighter as one ages so that we don't go darker because it exemplifies too many flaws in our system. So those are the kinds of things. Too much foundation means your wrinkles show more. It just emphasizes that. So there are things that we can do to enhance our appearance as we age, soften it, and make us feel a little better because everything, as I mentioned before, gravity wins. Yes. And those wrinkles appear magically through the years.
And you have the incredible privilege of living through the times you have lived. So you want to enhance. This is all about enhancing. Age is age. It's going to happen, right? So as my froggy voice comes back, how you enhance and how you bring out the best you. And you have always, I don't think I've ever known you to not be impeccably put together. But I think to shift into our last little bit here, what I've also known you is always about your giving. And you are constantly giving back. And you are involved in so many things. And we're going to highlight one of those things in talking about Lundstrom. So Lundstrom is who you picked for your nonprofit spotlight. And I know you probably could have picked 10 things, but talk a little bit about why Lundstrom.
Well, I'm also going to talk about the Masonic Children's Hospital because I did the biggest fashion show ever there, 120 pieces, beautiful, beautiful people from the media and all over, what we call celebrities here. So that also I didn't mention early on, and I need to because I'm driven by them because we, at the inception about 11 years ago, we had a great idea about Fashion Fest. So go look that up because it's a lot of fun.
Near and dear to my heart too. And you just recently retired from running that whole thing, but you did that and brought that to where it is. I mean, amazing.
It is fun. That's what it should be. It's not a fundraiser. It's a fundraiser. So you get both. And that's really great. But Lundstrom, now there's a reason that Lundstrom plays in a very unique place in my heart.
And being a proud donor, Lundstrom.org is the website to get more information on Lundstrom. And it is a performing arts center, but it truly, having had grandchildren, and I know you have too, Andrea, have your grandchildren go through these programs, and it is just special. It's a special place. And I'm so glad you highlighted them. And I hope people really learn more about Lundstrom, because for those of us in the Twin Cities, it's right here. And you're helping people right in your backyard. And you're helping these kids to be all that they can be and then some. You're helping to really give them a direction that they really wouldn't have. So bravo to that.
And they also have supplemental training for people with special needs. And these are children as well as young adults. And that is an incredible program at Lundstrom as well.
They do amazing things. And Lundstrom, it's interesting because Lundstrom's evolution and the evolution of your business have gone hand in hand. And that's really lovely to see, and something that you've been involved in so long. So truly, it's an honor to speak to you and to learn more about you and to have you share with us and open up your business and give us an education. And there's so much more we could have talked about. I wish we had more time. If people want to get a hold of you, they would do that through the business?
They would, yes. I'm in the office, shorter hours, but it's possible. And they can always submit if they're looking and have great kids, great actors. And we're always looking, especially people of color. It's so important in this market, and it's so important to the world right now. It's www.moretalent.com, and they can do a submission there and get information there.
Wonderful. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you both. You're just delightful people, and thank you for all you do.
Truly, just an incredibly enjoyable time.
She's really cool.
She's
and for someone of her age, she's so still young and thinking and so elegant and so non-judgmental. And for someone to be in the industry that she's in, to be that way still is pretty incredible.
And you wonder, too, if the industry that she's in has kept her that way, because she's been at the forefront of seeing the changes and seeing what people are looking for and what people are advertising and all of those things. So it really gives you a front row seat to history being made. And she has just so beautifully navigated it all and brought people along with her. I think that's truly, we didn't talk about her superpower, but to nurture. She's a nurturer.
Yeah, I would think that's what she would say.
Yeah. So truly enjoyed that. Well, I enjoy every moment we spend. I'm so grateful. Truly, again, I'm grateful to you and grateful to all our guests and the comments and, the funny ones and good old Nancy Lyons. It's just been enjoyable. So if you want more information and you're listening to us, go to theviewinyourmirror.com. Catch us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. And truly, we want you, our whole mission is for you to get value, but most importantly, to realize you have a story too. And that story makes you exactly who you are, which is the best you that you can be. So when you look in that mirror, know that you are exactly who you are meant to be. Until next time.